down here, this layer,
Yeah.
that had to be deposited before this layer. And that was before this layer, before this one, and it took a long
In the normal,
time.
in the normal.
Right, we're
Yeah.
in the uniformitarian model, right? Early, what I'm getting at is your assumption is that these were laid down one at a time over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Therefore, what you said makes sense. If, however, there was a horrendous flood, all this material,
Where did the water come from?
well, we got plenty of water. If
Where
the
did
earth
the
was
water come
smooth,
from?
you'd have what, close to 2 miles of water over all the land. It's a wonder there's any land at all.
Methane, ammonia, and the oxygen in the rocks.
I'm sorry.
Methane, ammonia, and the oxygen. The original primordial atmosphere was methane and ammonia,
Yeah.
like it is on Jupiter. Okay? And then as the rocks cooled down and the methane basically attacked, ended up attacking or leaching out of the rocks some oxygen, and that formed water, and then that started an erosion process.
All I was saying is that we can see things happening gradually, and
Not all the time. In
Well,
fact,
I'm not-
that very
I'm not
idea.
saying all the time.
Yeah, okay.
these things operate and then something happens. And you start with new conditions. And
What I'm getting at is if we have a universal flood, we're going to have storms like nobody's ever seen, and you're going to get a tremendous amount of material moving, and water will segregate into layers. It's been done in the laboratory. We've seen it after a hurricane in the Gulf. We've seen it at Mount St. Helens.
It occurs in the
Huge
slide.
amounts of material deposited rapidly into
locally,
what appear to be layers locally. The postulate, though, for a worldwide flood says this happened everywhere, same mechanism at work. And so what appears to be a tremendous amount of time may indeed be a matter of a few years. If that were the case, then this change you see over time isn't actually change over time, it's segregation by water over time, a very short period of time. So the assumption of how these are laid down then influences how you're going to interpret the stuff that's trapped
and
in
when
the
did
fossils.
this happen?
That's a good question. The Bible is not a scientific paper. Hebrew in particular is a very poetic language. Greek is much better. We tend to think like Greeks, very specific. Greek's actually even more specific than our language. Hebrew isn't. I would be comfortable with, say, a 10,000-year-old Earth and a flood, say, 4,000 to 6,000 years ago.
And how did the Hebrew folklore, the early Hebrew scribes, whatever, not
The
scribes,
scholars,
because
yeah,
that assumes
yeah.
that they were reading and writing. How did they know and record these things? I mean,
There's two
I read the
thoughts.
Bible, but I don't get out of it what most true believers get out of it. I get questions after questions. It seems like a lot of it is poetry, a lot of it is, I write science fiction, and I have written fantasy, and I see other people making stuff up or smoking the wrong weed or the right weed or whatever, and I can't swallow it. I belong to the Church of the Skeptical Seeker. I'm its pope. I'm its entire congregation. I do not invite or accept recruits, and I do not much get into theological discussions because I'm talking out of the top of my head, and so are the rest of us.
Scientists are...
And my daughter embroidered a T-shirt for me, and on the front it says, "Don't ask me to prove it," and on the back it says, "I could be wrong." Those are my mottos. And I recommend them to lots of people. If they care to try them out, I would be pleased.
If you asked me some questions about Christianity 2 or 4 years ago, I could have given you solid, pat answers. I knew it. And the longer I'm in Christianity, there are some areas where it's a little less certain. On the fundamentals, I'm very certain. But this is a side issue to the primary topic of the Bible, and it's not as clear.
I love Ecclesiastes. All is vanity.
Yes.
And but we live with it, and we do the best we can.
Sure.
And
I would not want everybody to hold the same opinion, because it would make for a very dull world.
and it would make for very slow, spiritual, social,
We actually have
scientific
about 3 minutes
evolution.
to clean up so we can get.
Yeah, let's get out of here so we don't hold up the next group. I want to thank MJ. Right. Oh, I'd like to thank MJ, even though she's not here.